I love self-care, if you can't tell by the name of this channel. So today we're going to discuss what I'm doing as a new mom during this postpartum period to feel my best and be the best version of myself for my new little baby. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by Jones Road Beauty. Hey guys, it's Robin and welcome to the Science of Self-Care, where we fall in love with the practice of taking care of ourselves so we can live better, longer. Today we are talking all things new mom self-care and postpartum recovery. I got a lot of requests for this topic. I know it's not relevant to all of my audience, but for those of you parents out there or people who are pregnant, this one's for you. So I'm going to divide this video into two parts. The first part will really be a part about mindset because I think that's the foundation for all the other things. And then the second part is going to be more practical things I'm doing to take care of my body, my self-grooming, all that sort of jazz. But if your mindset is not solid, I would say the other stuff doesn't really matter that much. So that's why we're going to start with part one, but feel free to skip around. I will put the timestamps down below. All right, let's get started. Part one, mindset as self-care. So for me, having the right mindset is all about reducing stress, increasing gratitude and positivity, and feeling pretty calm and present in life. Because if you have this mental state, whatever you face, whether in parenting or a crazy job, then you'll probably fare pretty well and you'll be able to handle whatever life throws at you. So there's a few philosophies that I personally have related to being a parent that I think really ground me and keep my stress very low and keep my ability to enjoy this journey a little bit higher. So I'm going to share these philosophies with you today. These are my personal philosophies. Please, if any of this does not feel relevant to you, completely ignore it. And if there's something that strikes your fancy, then maybe you can borrow from it, make it your own. But I'm just sharing what I personally do to help keep my mind in the right spot. All right, philosophy number one. I have very low standards for parenting, or perhaps low isn't the right word, maybe simple standards. At the end of the day, I believe parents only really have two distinct jobs. The first being to make their child feel completely unconditionally loved, and the second is to keep their child safe both mentally and physically. Though these are both straightforward and simple, they're not necessarily easy because I have had many friends who felt like their love from their parents was conditional. It was reliant on them being a certain person, being a certain way, achieving certain things. So this first point really relies on parents continuously checking in with themselves, making sure they're not putting unnecessary pressure on their children to perform a certain way or be a certain person, because at the end of the day, as a parent, we are just a guide to helping our children blossom into the unique human that they are, rather than molding them into someone that we want them to be. And then in terms of keeping our children safe, I think it's both important to focus on the mental and the physical elements of safety, because you may be physically safe in a space but not feel emotionally safe. So that's where I think a parent's job is really to advocate for their children, to set boundaries for their children, to make them feel safe. Now, safety should not be confused with avoiding all pain and challenges, because life is going to throw us pain and challenges, and protecting our children from adversity and difficulty is not going to serve them in the long run. Maybe it's because I'm currently reading the book, The Comfort Crisis, but I would say it's almost more harmful to live a life of complete shelter and perfection as a child, because then by the time you transition into adulthood, you will be rudely awakened to the fact that the world doesn't revolve around you and that there will be hardships in life. And so I think as a parent, again, it's not about shielding our children from adversity, but just keeping them safe so that they can continue to learn and experience the next portion of their life. I have a lovely friend and mentor who is recently reflecting to me about how a lot of times families these days only have one or two children. So parents often feel like however their children come out or turn out is very reliant on their parenting. But once families start having 3, 4, 5, 6 plus kids, parents quickly start to realize that all their kids are entirely unique beings, and their parenting, even though they're having more or less the same approach to parenting with each of their kids, all of their kids are so uniquely different and responding to that parenting differently. So this friend and mentor who now has 4 children really reminded me that parents don't have to put so much pressure on themselves, because whatever type of parenting parenting style they choose. Their child is a unique being and will be on their own unique journey. And it is not our job to try and control our children or to make every single perfect decision. It's really our job to go with the flow and guide this person that our child is becoming and blossoming into. And I really love this idea of just keeping in mind that if we have 4, 5, 6 children, they're all going to be so unique. So the thing that we feel matters so much, that one decision, likely doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things, because if we had multiple children, that same decision would have so many different outcomes. So the reason I think all of these philosophies really matter is they take a lot of stress out of everyday decisions. As a parent, you have so many things to decide on: what baby gear to get, what school to enlist your children in, what snacks, what this, what that. And it can feel like the weight of those decisions can really compound and feel overwhelming. However, if we remember that at the end of the day, we are really here to love our children unconditionally and keep them safe and let them blossom into the unique human that they are, then it really simplifies so many of those other things. And I feel like we can become a little more whimsical and lighthearted about those tiny little daily decisions that can really add up. My second philosophy really comes down to less stuff equals more peace. And I think this is especially relevant for anyone with children, because with children come so many things: a lot of gear, a lot of new tools and toys, books, and gadgets and gizmos. I'm just shocked at how long some of these baby registries are that I've seen. It is just so easy to start to collect so much stuff. And I don't know about you guys, but for me personally, the more stuff I have, the more full my head feels. And there's this beautiful child's book actually called Stuff, which is all about a bunny who starts to collect so much stuff that it starts to rule him. Because the more stuff we have, the more we have to account for those things. We have to keep them clean. We have to keep track of them. We have to organize them, put them away. And so just having less stuff, I personally find it brings a lot of mental peace. And this is something I am really working on myself. One practical tip that I feel like has helped me detach from material items more is really just thrifting everything. So 90% of my baby's gear, clothes, my crib, the stroller, everything we've gotten has been thrifted. And not only does that save a lot of money and is that good for the environment, it is also wonderful in that I feel less attached to those items because they've already had a life before me. They've supported other families and other kids, which is quite beautiful. But I also know that they can continue to do that on. And once our family is done with it, I have no attachment to it. I have no issue donating it to someone else. It also helps that I didn't spend a lot of money on it, so I don't feel financially attached to it. And so it kind of enters this beautiful cycle of thrifted kid stuff that you can find on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or even at Goodwill. I found all of my son's clothes at Goodwill for so cheap, and I just feel so unattached to it. So when he's grown out of things, I'll keep the really cute stuff, but then donate the rest. And it just makes it so easy to clear clutter when you are not extremely emotionally attached to the material items around you. Obviously, it's really nice to have special, beautiful things, and I did make a few material investments like my Artie Pop carrier, which is extremely expensive, but in my opinion, well worth it. I also have a secondhand one that I got off of Facebook Marketplace for quite cheap. But the point is, I will invest strategically on things that really bring me joy, and the rest I will just detach from, and that makes it so easy to get rid of it if it doesn't work. So by having less, we need to clean less, organize less, we have more space to play, to do things. I try to keep the floor plan of our house somewhat open so that we can do family yoga, we can dance around, have a family dance party, we can live and move in our space rather than spend our time taking care of our things. Philosophy number 3. Be yourself. I am such a strong believer in being exactly who you are unapologetically, and this also accounts for your role as a mother, as a parent, as a human. Even though I now have children, I'm not going to change who I am, and that means a couple of things. That means I'm going to continue a lot of pastimes and hobbies that I love. That means I'm going to continue to work on projects like YouTube that bring me a lot of joy, that fill my cup, that maybe have nothing to do with my children. And I know there can often be a lot of guilty feelings around dividing your time and your mind. And I've definitely found it quite hard to know how much time to be spending on work versus with my child, but I don't feel guilty for doing the things that I want to do and spending time in my day on things that serve me and not maybe my child directly. Because when you take care of your own needs, you can give to others and be of service to others completely unconditionally without any expectation of anything in return. And that is modeling to my children. Again, I only have one child, but I'm speaking as if I have multiple because I would love multiple children. That is modeling to my child that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to take care of yourself. There's space to be yourself. And I mean that in big ways, like career ways, but I also mean it in small ways, like doing my makeup every morning. My skincare and makeup is such a precious moment for me in the morning. I would love to, on this note, share a little word from the sponsor of today's video, Jones Road Beauty, which has been my obsession recently, and I've been wearing it every single day. The reason I love Jones Road Beauty makeup is that it is makeup made for a very natural look, and they've recently launched a foundation stick with beautiful ingredients that are so sensitive skin friendly. So this foundation stick contains ceramides, squalane, sodium hyaluronate, super hydrating and soothing ingredients for the skin. So I will often first apply the foundation to my hand, and then from my hand, I'll actually apply it to my face. And this gives a really beautiful, natural, light coverage look. If you want more medium coverage and a little thicker application, you can actually apply the stick directly to your face. Most importantly, I love the way that my skin feels after I take it off at the end of the day. To me, that's the sign of good makeup, when your skin actually feels better because it's worn it. So I have a few different Jones Road products here. These face pencils that are really easy to conceal and spot highlight places. I'll put it under my brow bone, between my brows, in the corners of my eyes, on my chin a little bit, just to brighten and bring everything forward. In general, if you love that really natural, no makeup type of look, I highly recommend looking into Jones Road Beauty products. A lot of these products are also wonderful for drier, more mature skin because they're very focused on hydration and moisture. And this is my final look. I personally love it, and I love the ritual of it. Just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still look fabulous. Right now, you can get a free best blush on all orders if you use code SELFCARE at checkout. Thank you, Jones Road Beauty, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to self-care as a new mom. Being yourself as a mom also means trusting your own intuition, trusting your choices, trusting what feels right for your family. I think there's so much noise of everyone saying, I did this, I did that. Even in this video, I'm going to share the things that I have loved, that have worked for me. Please cherry pick the things that feel helpful and relevant and forget the rest. We know what feels right for our family, and I think the second that you lean into that a little bit more and ignore the noise, it's just really good for your mental health and happiness. All right, let's get into some practical things now. Part 2, my practical self-care routine. The struggle I hear most often from new moms is the physicality of giving birth and then your body not necessarily being your own, especially if you're breastfeeding. You are feeding another human. You have to kind of be there on demand. Prioritizing movement that feels good for yourself is something that you can do quite early on. Walking was hugely beneficial for my recovery. I walked throughout my pregnancy. I walked actually during my labor. I did 8,000 steps that day as I was doing contractions. It was actually making me feel better to walk. And then after I gave birth, I continued to walk. And I truly think this is why my postpartum recovery was so speedy and why I already feel completely like myself again. Walking doesn't put as much strain on our bodies as harder physical activity, but it still helps circulate our blood. It still puts our body in a really beautiful biochemical state where our blood sugar doesn't spike too much, where we are burning a higher proportion of fats, where we are reducing our stress hormones. There's so many benefits of walking, and I've made videos on walking, and I'm actually working on an audio series related to walking right now. But I just want to say in this video that if you feel a little bit stuck and unable to resume intense physical activity, that is totally fine, but probably walking would be overall beneficial. Again, talk to your doctor based on your unique situation, but just know that many studies do exist showing that walking can actually speed up surgical recovery time, as well as help reduce risk of postpartum depression and complications after C-sections. In addition to walking, I have been loving yoga and Pilates. I feel like these are such gentle forms of movement where you can target specific areas of your body. So for example, Pilates, I couldn't do anything with abs for the first several weeks because my ab muscles were just shot, but I could still work on my arms, my legs, my glutes, and just doing those little bits of movement really helped me feel connected to my body and continued to help me feel strong and just good about myself. I also have certain regular things that I go to, like my favorite weekly Pilates class. Going to this every single week and resuming it quite quickly after birth gave me such a sense of self. I'm now a mom, but I'm still me, and I still can prioritize the things that make me happy. So I have loved having this regular Pilates date with myself every single week. And of course, I'm spending a lot more time at home in these past months. And so I'm doing lots of yoga and exercise with my baby sleeping next to me. And I think one of the most underrated elements of working out with a baby is rucking, which is really just walking or hiking with extra weight on you. And that's where I have been loving baby wearing. Not only is baby wearing such a simple way to stay connected to your baby, to free up your hands, to have some sense of autonomy in this new chapter of your life, but it's also amazing for health and ultimately weight loss if that's something you are after giving birth. There are a number of studies that support the idea of wearing between 10 to 15% of our body weight extra to help increase the intensity of our walks and to increase our caloric burn. So for me, wearing my baby has been the ultimate hack. It allows me to do anything and go anywhere. I spend hours working in a cafe with my baby just sleeping on my chest. I can spend an hour hiking. I can wander through a store without having such a big footprint as you do with a stroller. So I just love baby wearing. It's healthy for my mind, healthy for my body, and I think my baby really enjoys it as well. And I have mastered the ability to breastfeed while my baby is in the carrier. I know this might not be possible for everyone. I don't have extremely big boobs, so I think that makes this easier, but if you can master this, wow, it's so wonderful to just be feeding your baby and doing other things at the same time. Now, of course, you do, for the development of your baby, want them to spend plenty of time outside of containers, making sure they have enough tummy time and making sure they can, move freely on the floor. But a few hours in a baby carrier can make such a difference in terms of my feeling of health and wellness. And it's also a way that they can help strengthen their neck muscles because if they're in a carrier, they have to keep their head up. Another thing I have been loving resuming is using my vibration plate. I have made several videos on vibration plates. I love these things so much, and it's another way that I just feel so connected to my body. I don't have any crazy expectations that it's going to transform my body. I just love the way I feel on it, and I use it as a recovery tool from the other things that I do in my life. And then in terms of food, I am very intuitive with my diet, and certainly now with a baby, breastfeeding, I am not counting calories. I'm not keeping track of things, except for one thing. I am trying to be very protein forward with my meals. So I eat over 100 grams of protein every single day. Again, I don't track this precisely, but through doing some approximation for the past few weeks, I eat over 100 grams of protein a day. And I do this for a number of reasons. Firstly, it helps me feel full and satisfied. If you are watching and have been a breastfeeding mother, you know how ravenous you can sometimes get, and sometimes it feels like you just can't become full. Protein has really helped me feel satisfied after eating. It also helps regulate our blood sugar response to meals. And if you really want to lean into that characteristic of protein, you can eat protein at the beginning of your meal, and that will help blunt the blood sugar spike of whatever you eat subsequently. So if you want to eat something really carby, you can enjoy that carby thing. Just try to eat some protein before it. That is what's called protein preloading. And this really, really helps blunt that sugar spike from whatever carbohydrates you follow that protein with. Because protein actually slows the gastric emptying of food from our stomach to our intestines, and that in turn slows the absorption of the carbohydrates that we eat. So I have personally been loving following an intuitive but protein-forward diet. And again, I feel like being intuitive about things during a time when you have a lot of decisions to make just takes a little bit of the stress away and opens up your mental bandwidth for other things, rather than exactly how many calories you've eaten or specific macros that you need to follow. Again, this is my approach. Do what feels good for you. I've been making actually this delicious mushroom coffee because that's another thing. I cannot drink unlimited matcha because the caffeine goes into my breast milk and makes my baby too fussy if I have a lot of caffeine. So I have been drinking this mushroom coffee mixed with some collagen powder, and it's a really nice pick-me-up in the afternoons when I've already had my matcha in the morning, but I still want something delicious to sip on. In terms of skincare, probably the most exciting thing I've been able to reintroduce into my life is tretinoin or retinoic acid. This is probably the most research-backed skincare ingredient that exists, and it just works so beautifully for my skin. I immediately noticed that my skin was less crepey, a little bit thicker, a lot smoother, more even. That's been really nice. And again, talk to your dermatologist and your OBGYN about using tretinoin while breastfeeding, but I have looked at the research, I've talked to my doctors, and I just make sure not to put the tretinoin on my baby, and I'll put it on my face, but then not touch the baby to my face. If you have super sensitive skin that can't handle tretinoin, but you still want the benefits of vitamin A, vitamin C, and various peptides like matrixyl, I can highly recommend checking out this underrated brand, Environ. I've used it for many years, and this sequence line is not cheap, but it's my favorite formula with active derivatives that work for ultra sensitive skin. Not sponsored at all. Another grooming related thing that helps me feel my best is I actually don't wear any sort of nursing bras or any sort of pregnancy type clothing. I have been wearing bathing suits or very deep V'd bras that I can easily adjust to feed my baby. And somehow this just makes me feel a little bit more sexy than wearing nursing bras. No hate against nursing bras, especially if you like them, but I like feeling a little cheeky in a bikini. I'm wearing a bathing suit right now. It's a simple black one. I'll actually link this one because I'm obsessed with this bathing suit and it's been perfect for breastfeeding. But I have just been wearing bathing suits and shirts with buttons or deep V's so that I can continue to feed my baby, but also just wear regular clothes that I love and already have in my closet. I have quite a minimalist closet that is mainly a lot of charcoal gray and black clothing. I personally find that it helps me feel really confident and like myself in this new chapter, and it makes me think of my lovely grandmother who had 6 kids and was a single mom for a bit. She would always tell me that having children doesn't stop life. You just continue your life with children. It sounds like such a simple mindset, but I really do try to live that way. I try to keep being myself, keep doing the things that I love that make me feel good, just now with my baby as well. And that makes it more fun, more cozy. Another self-care thing that I've been leaning into is focusing on healthy supplements. I continue to take collagen peptides for many reasons, skin and joints, but also it's an easy form of protein that I can put in all sorts of drinks. I also continue to supplement with choline. So I've talked about choline in some of my other pregnancy-related videos. This is such an underrated nutrient for pregnant women to be consuming. There's a landmark study that shows taking pretty much double the recommended daily amount in pregnant women actually resulted in babies with faster information processing speed. So choline is really important while pregnant, but now beyond pregnancy, I'm continuing to supplement with choline for myself and also for my baby. I actually talk a lot about choline in this episode that I did with Dr. Lucia Aronica. She also recently had an awesome podcast with Mel Robbins. She is an epigeneticist who talks about how the food we eat influences the expression of our genes. So in this conversation, we spend a lot of time talking about the importance of choline, but I just want to shout out this underrated nutrient. Woo! And of course, I'm still taking my prenatals, my omega-3s. I also add in some calcium. Also, random supplement I absolutely love is this Hyacera supplement. It is so expensive, but I actually notice a difference all over my body. I used to have keratosis pilaris, and that has completely gone away since using this. So if you're looking for a skin supplement, usually I would not recommend such a thing, but after testing this extensively for almost 2 years now, it works. I love it. I think the last thing that I've really been prioritizing during this period is sleep. And that is probably the hardest thing when you have a newborn. I still wake up multiple times a night. My baby does not sleep through the whole night yet. of the sleep that I do get, I really try to make sure it's good quality sleep. So I've been really leaning into trying to get to bed at a reasonable hour, having a nice wind down routine, maybe also taking some magnesium glycinate to help me relax and unwind, and just not spending too much time on unnecessary things in the evening, like scrolling on social media. In general, I try not to do that, but now that I have a baby, I really feel like time is so precious, and so I'm trying to be really conscious about how I spend it. That has been a very big priority for me. Another thing I've done for years to help my sleep quality is use mouth tape. I always wake up feeling better rested when I force myself to breathe through my nose. It does mean that I go to bed and wake up looking quite insane. One specific routine I've gotten into with my husband is he will let me sleep in the morning by actually giving our baby some formula and taking him out of the bedroom. So I'm actually combo feeding. And on that note, I just wanted to mention that I know there's a lot of pressure on moms to breastfeed, and breastfeeding doesn't always work out. So just whatever form of fuel you can give your baby, fed is best. Even in the hospital, actually, I was expressing to the nurses that I was interested in the idea of combo feeding because I love that I would have a little bit of flexibility. Not all of the feeding would be reliant on me. And they didn't really entertain the idea. They weren't really supportive of it. They were really pushing breastfeeding only. There was maybe even a little bit of underlying judgment for it. And I just think that's never healthy. So going back to being yourself and following your intuition, you're doing great. My husband giving my baby formula in the morning has allowed me to get really deep, long sleep in the morning. And that has made all the difference for how I feel. Now, there's a lot of studies that say the most important sleep is actually the sleep you get before midnight. But for whatever reason, my circadian rhythm, the way that it is, if I don't get enough deep sleep a little bit later in the morning, then I will feel extremely tired later in the day and I won't be able to go throughout the day without a nap. So listen to your body, drown out the other noise from other people, including myself. I think something that a lot of people have been telling me as well is to give yourself grace as a new mom, and I've been trying to do that. I often have parts of my videos that I want to edit and perfect, and I've been just leaving those alone because I might not have as much energy to get to those. Even this video, this is actually my second time filming it. I filmed it already last week, but it was so hard because my baby was crying, and so I had to wear him and I was trying to film it. So it just didn't really work out, and now I'm filming it another time around, and I'm just going with the flow and trying my best, but things aren't going to be perfect, and that's okay. And if anything, having a child just helps you prioritize your life. You realize you don't have the extra time to spend on unnecessary, unimportant things. Easier said than done, but it's something I'm consciously working on. But truly, this is just the beginning of my journey as a parent. I'm a new mom. This is my first child, so I'm sure I have so much more to learn along the way. I would love to hear from you guys. I would love to hear about your stories and experiences. I really appreciate when the comment section of these videos becomes a forum of crowdsourced wisdom, of experiences, of questions that you guys share. It truly adds so much to the value of a video when you can see the whole community under it. So thank you for your contributions. I learned so much from you guys, and I know you guys learn a lot from each other because I read the comments. If you are a new parent, congratulations. You got this. You're doing great, and just follow your intuition. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.